Hello. I wanted to do a quick Game Week 20 review and have a look at my Game Week 21 thoughts, early thoughts. Game Week 20, I did not that good. I got a red arrow, so 8 points, red arrow, which wasn't too bad. Mbeumo was the story of this game week. He was the main killer. Outside of him, I think my team did all right. Sells and Wood saved it a little bit. Gordon and Isaac fine. Palmer and Salah did well. Blanks all across the defence. 0 from Trent. And Sarr and Jesus on twos. A little bit disappointing, but you can't win them all. So it was fine. According to FPL Optimised, my luck was kind of 0. It was just a steady normal game week. It was just really Mbeumo that did the damage there. And I think I want to talk a little bit about pain in this video. FPL pain, because that one stung a little bit for me. Like, I've had a few times in the season. I mean, FPL, you always have these little painful moments, and I've had a few kind of big ones this season, and that one just kind of like stuck. It was another one that stung because I was very close to bringing him in. If you saw my video last game week, he was my transfer in. And then I changed my mind and went to Sarr. And earlier in the season, not going Haaland for the first 5 game weeks, that was pain. There were some moments when he was just absolutely smashing me, and that feeling of regret of like, oh no, and then everybody's jumping on him, everyone's on the Haaland bandwagon, price is going up, and the train is leaving without you, and you haven't got him, and you're an idiot. And it's like, they're geniuses, you're an idiot. And it's like, it was kind of like that with Mbeumo, that sense of like that interstellar moment of like, I wish I could just go back and just stick him in my team. Because, you know, I've been having, I mean, it's a weird one, because you think I shouldn't be complaining. You think with all this luck, I'd be more relaxed about losing out on some. But I almost feel like I've gotten used to it. I've become spoilt by the luck and the good scores, that when you don't get one, it stings even more. I don't know why. I think it's to do with, basically, whenever I do badly in FPL, the last 2 seasons I had a lot of bad luck. The way I usually deal with it is to distance myself from the outcome. Just try to enjoy the game for what it is, and don't worry about the outcome. Whereas that's when I'm doing badly. But I think when you're doing well, you need to do it as well to a degree. And I think, I'm an Arsenal supporter, but over the years, I follow Arsenal way more distantly now. And basically, the final few years of the Wenger years, when Wenger was in charge, Arsenal started doing really badly, and we were getting beat by like massive cricket scores. It was getting quite embarrassing, and I had to go to work and worked with colleagues that were always kind of like giving me crap about it. And I started getting to a point where supporting Arsenal was like, it was ruining my weekends. Every time Arsenal lost, it would actually genuinely ruin my weekend. And I had this feeling of like, why am I letting my happiness be controlled by something that is outside of my control? I'm just letting my happiness be dictated by this total event that I have no control over at all. It's like, that's kind of crazy. I should be in control of what I decide to be happy about, and it's the same with FPL. Like, there's this, once a deadline drops, it's just out of our control, and allowing your happiness to be dictated by this total, almost, it's not total random, but if, you know, we don't have any control over it, allowing our happiness to be dictated by that is like, feels kind of silly. We should kind of try, and this is my feeling, as I try to draw my happiness out of, and my joy from the game, from the things that I can control, the aspects of. So I like doing all the spreadsheets. I like kind of figuring out what to do, my moves, the strategy. I like, you know, kind of like going on Twitter and the community aspect, and the podcast, listening to podcasts and stuff. And there's all kinds of things like that. But once the deadline drops and the game just plays out, you kind of almost have to view it like a scientist and just let the chips fall as they fall, and just objectively analyze it, look at it, and then draw all the info back in and just start learning again. And now that's your part to kind of enjoy. That part is like, it's just out of your control. So I think I kind of think like that. Yeah, what was I going to say about that? Yeah, that's about it. And also the other thing about when things go bad, it's a good motivator to learn as well. Like, when you're doing well, you don't learn as much. But when you're doing badly, it's a motivator to learn. And so, like with Haaland at the start of the season, I learned a lot about EO and about captaincy because I wasn't really thinking about EO as much as I am now. I feel much more sensitive to it now. It's one of the reasons I felt much more pushed to bring Isaac in, because as his numbers were going up and his EO was going up, I could feel myself getting walloped by him. But at the start of the season, I brought Haaland in. He was like 100 and over 100% EO, getting hat tricks, and I was just sitting there going, "Oh, I'll be fine." And it's like crazy now when I think about it. I can see why some people go EO. I don't think it is just being sheep-like and conforming. It's actually, I think it's a strategy to play in the game sometimes, to just certain moments go. It's like that's what, like when people in cyclists, when they go in the pack, in the peloton, whatever it's called. Is it peloton? Don't know. But they stay with the pack, and then you have to choose your moments to break out. So there is a logic to that. So yeah, I've been learning about that. I've been learning about captaincy with Haaland, and it took the pain to realise that, you know, it pressured me to kind of learn these things. And I learned some things with Cunha earlier. Cunha to Evan Nilsson stung. I sold Cunha and ended up kind of like updating all these forms and stuff to try and get my analysis better. So we'll see if I learn anything about Mbeumo. Maybe. But the only other thing I was going to say was like, so drawing your happiness from something outside of your control, it's also the same thing when you're doing well. Because it's almost harder to do it when you're doing well. Because when you're doing well, you start to kind of, it's so easy and deceptive to start drawing your happiness from your rank, because it's just going well and you're getting a lot of happiness from this thing. It's like, this is great. But then when it starts going badly, now you're screwed. Now you're like, this thing that you've associated with your happiness is now going the other direction, which means you can't be happiness. Like, you've got to kind of like distance yourself from the good times as well as the bad and try and, I think so. I don't know if I'm making sense. But it's a little bit like, I don't know why this thought has just popped into my head, but like good looking women often, sometimes when they get to like their 40s and stuff and they start, their looks start dropping, it's harder for them because they've come to associate their self-worth with their looks for so long that when their looks start dropping, it hurts them more. It's a much difficult thing to deal with. Whereas if you're ugly your whole life, like me or something, you know, you're ugly your whole life, you don't care about getting more ugly when you're getting old, because you're not drawing your happiness from your looks. You've learned to draw your happiness from all these other aspects of your life. And so it's that kind of thing. Hopefully that's making sense. But yeah, so that's my way of dealing with FPL pain, is to try to distance myself from the outcome more. Try and focus on the parts that I can control, I think. But anyway, it only lasts, you're basing on Mbeumo, it stung for a day or two, and it's like, it bothered me. I was like, damn, now I feel all right about it. I feel all right about it now because I've started to reflect a little bit more. I've watched a few content creators' videos, and they're saying, which is, you know, maybe I shouldn't do this, but they've been mentioning that maybe he's not the best person to bring in right away with Man City and Liverpool next. He's fine keeping that, and they've also been pointing out that he's been overperforming his deltas very, very. He's been overperforming. I looked at this. This is the XG delta, and Mbeumo's right at the top here. You got Cunha and Mbeumo are the two main names who are overperforming their XG. So things like that have just softened it a little bit for me. And I do like Sar's fixtures. One of the reasons I brought Sar in is because now for the next few game weeks, when Mbeumo's playing Man City, Liverpool and Crystal Palace, which are tricky, Sar's got West Ham, Leicester, West Ham and Brentford and at home. So, yeah, it's I'm a little bit softened more on Mbeumo now. I'm feeling a little better about it. And I may still bring him back in. But the reason why I wanted Mbeumo in the first place was because he's so solid. Like, one of the ways I've been playing this season is I've just been trying to find solid players. There's a certain type of player in FPL that just feels wholesome. Wood, Salah, Palmer, Gabriel probably sells has been great. Isaac and Gordon kind of, and I do like Munoz as well. He's got kind of like a, I don't know, he's like a monster. He's like, I don't know, he just feels solid. And Mbeumo basically is one of those players though. 90 minutes, pens, talisman, nailed, just reliable, historic data, real solid pick. So it's that kind of reason why. And why did I go for Sarr then? Because Sarr just feels a bit risky. But then you've got to take some punts every now and then. And I may still be able to bring Mbeumo back. So anyway, that was my rant about FPL pain. If anybody has any tips of how they deal with bad moments and stuff, let me know. Again, it probably seems silly that I am worrying about it. Well, I'm not worrying about it. It was just, it was just a thought that I thought I'd talk about this game week because it stings a bit. Anyway, moving on. Next game week, what are my plans? Plans are probably to roll if I can. Basically, I've got 2.2 in the bank, 2 transfers, and I've got a couple of options. I could leave that money in the bank and wait to see what happens. There's a few things I could wait to see. There's Mbeumo. I can do the Sa Mbeumo test and just see who performs in the next few game weeks, and then maybe switch back to Mbeumo. I've got enough money for that. I could wait and see who emerges as the best third Liverpool for their double. Could it be Jota, Diaz, Gakpo? If one of them gets injured, then you could go on the others for the double. I could also, so Jesus up front. There's some forward moves I could do. Jesus to a Gakpo maybe. If not, Duran might be back. Duran, by the way, is probably going to be. I'm expecting him to be banned for that Everton game. He had until the 3rd of January to respond to his hearing, to his the charge, and when Cunha had that, it took about another week of working days before he was actually banned. And so I suspect before game week 21 we'll find out if Duran's actually got a further 1-match ban, or even 2-match bans. But I think it will just be 1 match because Van Dijk got a further 1-match ban for telling the ref it was his decision was an effing joke or something. So same kind of ballpark. He'll probably miss Everton, but he'll probably miss Everton, but he might be an option like 23 onwards. Duran. Also, Evan Nilsson's out. He's had surgery on a broken foot, so Evan Nilsson is out, and so Enes Unal could be an option. Bournemouth fixtures are crap until 25, so probably not an option yet. But 25, I'd keep your eyes on that because Enes Unal is one of those. He's one of those weird names that occasionally in my model I'll get this random name that pops up from nowhere and I've got no idea who he is. And basically he was one of them. Last season, 8.45 was his points per 90. He was like one of the best. And I had no idea why, but I guess, I don't know, he may have good data. This season as well, his data seems to be all right. So he's one to keep an eye on. But wait and see about that. That's maybe game week 25. But there's a few forward options, maybe even Jackson I could go back to. And then the only other option I could do with that money is I was thinking of maybe bringing either Pickford or Alisson in, probably Alisson. Because if Alisson turns out to be the one I decide to go for as the third Liverpool, then if I'm going to bring him in, if I bring him in now, I can actually get a couple of good fixtures out of him. I could play Alisson against Nottingham Forest, which I'd prefer themselves against Liverpool. I could play him against Ipswich as well, have him for the double, and then in 29, there's a couple of other games here that are good, and then in 29, I can just bench Alisson, so I don't have to actually transfer him out. Because if I bring a player in, if I bring any other Liverpool player in and they blank in 29, then it's going to be 2 transfers, 1 in and 1 out again. And I'm trying to limit the amount of transfers I use. So that is one thing I like about Alisson. But then the downside about Alisson is that it's going to block all those other options. Bringing Mbeumo in, bringing Gakpo or Jota in. Pardon me, all these other options. So I need to kind of work all that out and think about that. I probably won't bring Alisson in. I'll probably just roll and wait to see what happens with Mbeumo and all these other options and stuff. That's what I'm thinking. And then, I've just got to kind of figure out chip strategy and stuff. I think I'm going to make a video maybe tomorrow or Thursday about the assistant manager chip and some chip strategy thoughts. I'm still basically on that triple captain 25, dead end 29, wildcard 30, assistant manager 31 and 33, free hit 34, bench boost 36. That's still where I'm sitting every time I look at it. But there are a few other options to kind of think about. And so I still need to kind of figure out my transfers, how many I've got, what to do about that. At the moment, I'm just kind of trying to save as many as I can, really. Yeah. So that is what I'm thinking. Oh, one other thing I was going to say about FPL Pain. This guy, he's a Buddhist, so if you're not Buddhist, you don't have to watch it and stuff. But I'm not a Buddhist either, but he's really good. He's called Ajahn Brahm. I listen to him all the time. He's brilliant. And he's got this great video here, this talk about the winners and the losers. And he's just, if you ever have FPL Pain, listen to this. And I think it always helps me listening to this guy. I'll leave the link in the description. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say for this video, I think. Rough early thoughts, haven't really thought them out. Oh, one other thing is captaincy, isn't it? That's going to be a topic, isn't it? Salah, Isaac or Palmer. At the moment, I'm on Salah, and that's mainly because he's top of my model most of the time, most of the ways I cut it. He's usually pretty near the top. He's at the top at the moment. Depends which way I cut it. Sometimes if I put more XGI data and other things, Bruno actually comes out quite high. Bruno is an option. If anybody's thinking about midfield options, I think Bruno actually looks kind of good. I don't know. I've never really considered him, but he's suddenly appearing quite high on my model, and he's got pretty good fixtures right up until 29. They've got, apart from Arsenal, they've got a good fixture in 29. He could be a good option actually going forward. I don't think I'm in the market for anybody right now. But if anybody is, he's a good option, and he maybe even a good captaincy shout. But I don't know. I don't know about that. It depends how much you trust him. I wouldn't go for Bruno, but he's up there. Yeah, Isaac, Palmer, Salah. I think they're all very even. And I think it's really a case of, are you chasing or are you wanting to play safe? And for me, I still feel like I'd rather play safe at the moment. So I think I'm going for Salah because I'm going to assume that Salah will be the highest EO captain, even though a lot of people seem to be talking about going against him. I think that's maybe just on the Twitter bubble. In the wider game, I still suspect Salah will be the highest EO. And I just still trust him the most. He's still very consistent. I don't think Nottingham Forest defence is good, but it's not, you know, I think Liverpool could still break it. Yeah. So that's it. Yeah, so I'm going to go for Salah captain probably. Okie dokie. I think I'll leave it there. Yep. Okie doke. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.